Hello there, welcome to another edition of the Holiday and Cruise Clinic, the only programme on television that's purely dedicated to answering your holiday, cruise and travel related questions. So if you have a question, a query, a dilemma about a cruise or holiday, just generally travelling, here's how to get in touch with us. Our website is www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Go to the clinic page, click on there and send us your questions through the website. You can also email us directly to clinic@holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk or write to us by post as well to the Holiday and Cruise Channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool, L22 5NG. Now here on the clinic we're regularly joined by our friends and colleagues from all the major cruise lines, and something that is quite clear is how great a cruise holiday is, and that's even before you've taken a step ashore in some of the wonderful ports of call that we can visit. But when you do take that walk along the gangplank to get off, where do you go next? What do you do? And how do you best take in the cultural flavour of the destinations you're visiting? Well, one company that can help you make the most of your cruise holidays is Cruising Excursions. I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Miller from Cruising Excursions. You've taken that walk along the gangplank, I'm quite sure, very often to see some wonderful destinations, haven't you, Chris?
I certainly have. I've been to a lot of places myself. There's a lot of places I'd still like to go to, I suppose.
It's always good to have a few still in the bag, yeah?
I think so, I think so.
Name a few places, impress people. Come on, impress us where you've been and where you've been.
Okay, the places I'm going to mention that I like the most, actually, are basically European ports of call and cities and areas of Europe, as opposed to the Caribbean, which is a fantastic place too. But of all the places I've been to, I go back to Europe, and I think Europe, and especially the Mediterranean, is probably the most enthralling places to ever go.
Well, I think you're right, actually, because I like the idea of being, you know, getting on a cruise ship, going overnight to another destination or flying to another destination within Europe, being in a totally different culture. Exactly.
And the culture is also to do with the people being different, the food being different, and of course the joie de vivre, the way of life that's slightly different to what's normal here in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the good reasons of taking a holiday, really, is to experience something different.
Yes. I suppose if you think about it, the great thing about a cruise is the fact that you can actually discover many places on one holiday, as opposed to just going to one place. I think that if you are going to go to some of these amazing places, I mean, let's just mention places like Rome or Florence and Pisa and Cannes and Marseille and places such as that. You've got the chance on a cruise to actually visit all these different places all on one holiday, and I think you have to do it.
Yeah. 3 cities in Italy you named there. That's obviously a favourite with yours, is it?
It is. it is very. It's a favourite of mine, but for many reasons, because I like the places myself. But also they're very popular at the moment because there are an awful lot of cruise ships actually going into the Italian ports, it be in Naples or Florence or Livorno, all these kind of places. So that's why I mention Italy more than anything else, really.
I mean, I have to own up here, folks, because Italy has been on my list of travel destinations for about 10 years now, and I still haven't been. But I can understand, and I will realise, I'm sure, when I go there, I'll fall in love with the place, the food, the wonderful heritage, the people. It just sounds wonderful. Is it as good when you go?
I think so. I actually think it's probably better, actually. I think most people have heard, let's talk about Rome, the capital of Italy. As you know, that most cruise ships actually port in Civitavecchia. Hope I've pronounced that correctly.
Sounded good to me.
It sounded quite good. And of course, one of the most popular areas to explore and to visit is, of course, Rome. And when we talk about Rome, we're talking about the Vatican. We're talking about the Colosseum, the Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain, places such as that. And not just that, the culture, the food, the coffee, sitting down in a little street, having a little coffee and watching the world go by. That's what Rome's all about. But also the massive history that it's got.
The thing is, though, if you're on a cruise and you're only there for a day, how do you pack all these things in?
Well, the best way to do it is to go on an organised shore excursion with a professional guide. That is the best way to actually explore. And if you're going to do that, the best way to do it is, in fact, pre-book your tours, your shore excursions.
This is before you go away on holiday.
Before you go away.
Even before you set foot outside the house, think about where you're going to go when you arrive at the ports.
Exactly. I think most people actually book their cruises quite well in advance of actually going on the cruise. So I think once you know what your itinerary is, I think you've got time to explore, to actually check things out, if it be on the internet, work out where those interesting places or exhilarating places you'd like to visit, and then book them afterwards. But after you've booked the cruise, maybe. But at the same time, I think the best thing to do is pre-book them, because you will save a lot of money if you do so.
Right, okay.
And also, it's a way of budgeting your cash as well, I suppose.
Sure. Well, we'll talk about cash, and obviously budgeting extremely important. But
Yes.
just take us through, because we've got maybe 6 hours perhaps to enjoy a beautiful city with a million things to do.
Yes.
You've got to condense as much as you can down into one visit. But you can do that when you organise something rather than doing it off your own bat when you arrive.
Yes, well, the best way to do it is to actually have an organised tour, obviously, because it's all there. Our company, for example, offers tailor-made tours. So if you've been to Rome many times before, and you'll find there are a lot of people, but also that want to go back and see other aspects they didn't see on the first time, they can do tailor-made tours, or also tours that actually are specifically, meant to actually take in the main areas of the city. And the most popular areas, of course, has been the Vatican, the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, the places I mentioned before previously.
So you've got a fairly busy, just taking Rome as an example, obviously you go to other places,
Yes.
and there are stacks of other places to go to when you're cruising. But just take Rome there as an example. I think it must be one of the most popular destinations for excursions. In fact, I can't ever imagine that you would be on the ship and never meet anybody else when you're in Rome, because surely they've all got off and had a look.
Well, I suppose you'd be surprised. I think some people may not. But I suppose they don't know. Well, they must know that Rome is a pretty enthralling place. I would say most people actually visit Rome. I think, as you said, if you are on a boat, a ship,
Yeah.
a cruise liner, and you've got 8 or 9 hours in the port of Civitavecchia, I pronounced that once again, then you're obviously going to explore the great points of Rome.
Yeah, if there are any Italians watching, by the way, would you please just confirm with Chris that he has pronounced the city name right? But I'm sure it sounds fine.
I'll try it once again.
Let's just get that one out.
Civitavecchia.
Okay, great.
Great
nice
place.
One. Sounds fine to me. So just tell us then, if as a preference to going on an organised excursion as opposed to doing it off your own bat, you're going to do more of a whistle-stop tour and include more things and have access to other areas which you might have to queue for example, are you?
Exactly. That's a very important factor. One thing you have to think about, it is quite a fair journey from Civitavecchia to the city of Rome. An hour and a half journey there, hour and a half journey back. So you have to condense and have to be very organised to make sure that the time is actually used sparingly and used for maximum enjoyment. If anybody's been to the Vatican on their own, to the Rome, for example, then they may remember that there's usually quite a large queue, especially in the summertime when there's lots of Americans, lots of Canadians, lots of Australians coming to see the Vatican. The company I work for, our tours actually include skip the line tickets, which basically means we actually prepay for the tickets in the Vatican, directly with the Vatican, to ensure that there is no hanging around.
Right.
No waiting, so we can go straight in, guided tour in the Vatican, and then straight out again.
And how long would you normally queue at the Vatican for to get
Well,
in?
they claim that sometimes in the high time of August, especially when it's very warm there, very hot, it could be up to 2 or 3 hours.
Right,
So
which is almost getting on for a third of your day off the ship.
Exactly, and of course, I think they do try to give people refreshments and things, but that's the way it is. It's a very popular place. So if you go with an organised tour, it means you go straight into the actual the Vatican, no hanging around, no queuing, straight past the queue.
Well, as you know, folks, we like to do your questions to our panel of experts, and a couple of them I have here talking about the guides. So if you're going on a guided tour of somewhere like Rome, as I say, for an example, do they speak English?
Right, that's a very important factor, because I remember many years ago, having been in the travel business for a long time, then we'd have like multi-national tours, and the tour would flip from German, French, Spanish, maybe Portuguese, and then into English. Very frustrating. The tours that we sell, all the tours are with professional guides that only speak one language, and that language is English. There's no mixture of languages, and obviously if somebody who speaks English is not their first language, then basically our tours are not for them. Also, our guides are proficient in English. They have to be tested before they actually become an English tour guide.
And know all about the places that they're showing you around, presumably, if there are any awkward questions, because we're known for that sort of thing, aren't we? You know.
Well, exactly, yeah, because you're asking me a few questions of places I've only taken the information from our guides, basically. So I'm taking what they're saying as gospel, I suppose. But yes, they have to know all the places of interest, because, as you know, some people are very, very inquisitive, and they will ask you questions that you otherwise wouldn't know. I mean,
sure.
The example could be, when was the Trevi Fountain built? That was just a question, because I don't know the answer, to be fair, but I'd like to know now, actually.
Right, okay. Yeah. And your guide will be able to answer that question.
They would answer that question. What was it, the purpose of it? I mean, that's just a
And you can go and throw 3 coins in the fountain as well while you're there as well,
Of course you can, of course you can. And
fabulous.
3 lots of good luck, I suppose.
Good, well, let's hope so. That would be good. Let me talk about some of the other places that you can have excursions around the world, because obviously Italy is a popular one, but there are others too.
Well, obviously the rest of Italy, the south of France, because we've got a lot of ships going to visit in places like Cannes. Obviously, if you look at Cannes and Saint-Tropez and places such as the Côte d'Azur.
They must be fabulous places to arrive by ship. I mean, just the way they look, and they're all built up, and all the yachts and everything
they are,
you've got there. The money must be fantastic to look at.
Yeah, and because don't forget, a lot of these ships are actually tendering just outside Monte Carlo. And as you can look out into inland and see the steep hills and the greenery, and of course the expensive villas and houses, and of course where the rich live. I think it is actually. I've actually visited the whole coast of France by car, but I've also entered by cruise ship also. I think you're right. It's actually probably a bit more. There's a bit more to it arriving by cruise ship.
Absolutely. Wow, fantastic. Well, my tour guide in the studio says 1762 that the Trevi Fountain was put together. So there you go. You can impress your friends at dinner parties.
That is pretty fantastic. 1762. That's pretty amazing.
It is, isn't it? It is fantastic. Well, sit there for a moment, Chris, because there's stacks of questions about places that you go to and what we can all do to make sure we have a great excursion when we come to going on our cruise holiday. But I just want to tell you about our handy cruise guide. Here it is. Maybe we've whetted your appetite at getting away and you're thinking of taking to the seas and maybe doing a few excursions along the way. Here are some fabulously easy and sensible questions and answers that are all printed down in this useful booklet. To get a copy, all you need to do is give us a call, 0871 423 4444. Calls will cost you 10p a minute from a BT landline, and calls from other networks and mobiles may vary. You can also request a copy through our website at www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. And whilst you're doing that, we'll take a quick break. Chris and I will see you back here in just a few minutes. Hello there, welcome back to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic, and today we're talking shore excursions when it comes to cruise holidays. But remember, if you have a question for one of our travel experts, here's how to get in touch with us. Our website is www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Just go to the clinic page, click there and send us your questions to us through the website. You can also email us directly to clinic@holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk or write to us by traditional post as well. Send us a postcard to the Holiday and Cruise Channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool, L22 5NG. Chris Miller from Cruising Excursions is still with me now. Chris, a seasoned traveller, somebody who's been involved with the travel industry for quite a while now, I'm guessing, by your experience. Not always to do with excursions, I'm sure, was it?
No, to do with hotels and to do with, I've worked for some of the major tour operators.
What was your first travel job?
My first travel job actually was a rep, a holiday rep.
Yeah?
For a company that you may remember called Intersun.
I do remember that.
ILG, they were called.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it Club 1830 then?
No, I wasn't. Well, they were part of the group. I wasn't actually a Club 1830 rep. I was a rep. My first job actually was based as a holiday rep in the town or holiday resort of Puerto de la Cruz in Tenerife.
Oh, lovely.
In those days, it was a fabulous place.
Yeah, I bet.
And I don't think it's as fabulous as it used to be in many respects. That it's died a death slightly because of the south of Tenerife becoming a lot more commercialised. But in those days, it was the place to go. And I suppose really the kind of people that would go to Puerto La Cruz were very similar people that would go to Funchal in Madeira, and also quite similar people who probably would go on cruises.
I was just going to say, are you meeting these people now in later life on cruise holidays?
I think we probably are. Yes, I think that it was the natural progression that people go on to cruises. And don't forget, it was not long ago when there wasn't as many cruise ships around.
Yes, yes.
And you know the price of cruising has actually substantially gone down in price. I would say the quality is still very, very high.
Especially certainly what I've seen, absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's talk more destinations, because we've kind of you've tempted us a little bit towards some parts of Europe and the Caribbean possibly, but we're talking all about taking excursions today, and we need to know a little bit more about where we can go and get off once we're on our ship.
Well, I would say that that we offer shore excursions for any cruise ship itinerary, and that includes places like Ashdod, which is I don't know if you know of it.
Oh, in Israel?
In Israel, which is a fantastic way of getting to places like Jerusalem, Bethlehem, which obviously is a very popular port of call. One of the greatest cities in Europe, I would say, probably Istanbul. And of course, Port Said for visiting some of the greatest antiquities in the world, of course being the pyramids of Giza, and the rest of it. When I'm talking about just Europe, then the Mediterranean Europe is one part. I have to tell you one thing. One part of the world I've not visited, apart from briefly to a city in a country called Denmark, Copenhagen, is I've often thought about visiting the Baltic. There are many cruise ships that do, but we also offer cruise excursions within the Baltic. And I suppose those are places like Bergen in Norway, Stockholm in Sweden, Tallinn in Estonia, and of course the jewel probably
St. Petersburg. Yeah,
that's
is that what you were going to say?
I was about to say that. Yeah,
sorry
no,
to blow your thunder there.
Well, I have been. Well, I have to tell you, I have actually been to St. Petersburg.
It's supposed to be fantastic. I've not heard, all I've heard are good reports really about how good St. Petersburg can be. And also, one thing well worth mentioning is people don't like to call it the Baltic much because it sounds cold and people associate it with being cold. But it can, in the summer, be a damn sight hotter than this country. Well, let's face it, isn't?
Probably drier.
And much warmer, 30-odd degrees.
Yeah, I believe so. I remember going once to Copenhagen and we were sunburned. And that was in June time, I think, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
But you'd be quite surprised. It's an area, I've been to a couple of the cities in the area, but I've never actually been on a cruise ship around the Baltic. Or the northern Mediterranean, we could call it, I suppose.
Yes, and you can see the Northern Lights, Scandinavia, obviously.
I believe so, yeah, I believe so.
And
then Finland and cities such as Helsinki, which are supposed to be quite amazing.
Yes, going back to our subject about different cultures again,
Again, yeah. I know lots of people have done it, especially that have been on cruise ships and done the Baltic. Moving a bit further afield, I mean, it's of course getting towards the Atlantic. The Canary Islands are the first port of call, I suppose, before we get to the New World.
Sure.
Bear in mind that Columbus set sail from the Canaries. So,
Alaska, maybe?
Alaska and the Pacific coast.
Yeah.
I've not been on a cruise to the Alaska and the Pacific coast of Seattle, places such as that. But that is my next port of call, I think.
Okay. Well, maybe you can come back and tell us about your
I'll have to. I have done New England, which is obviously the Atlantic coast of what they call the Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah.
That is pretty enthralling as well. The old that coast of New England of USA and Canada, and up to Nova Scotia.
What about when we're talking about obviously mainstream excursions from arriving in a destination? What about getting to the ship as well from, say, the airport, something like that? Can you organise that too?
Yes, we as a company are very proud to actually possibly to supply the best priced port to shore, or shore to port, or hotel to port, or cruise to airport transfers. And we don't actually sell transfers anywhere else. All we do is sell port shore transfers in ports. So we're specifically geared up for that purpose.
So if somebody's arriving at Orlando, for example, and wants to get to their cruise ship, Miami maybe?
Port Canaveral or Miami, yes, we supply the best possible price for the person or the party to actually get to their cruise ship on time, and with a very, very good very good price.
Good, good. Well, we're encouraging you to ask our panel of experts a number of questions, as you know, and we'll give you the details again very shortly about how we can get in touch with us. But there's obviously a little bit of weather to factor in sometimes, isn't there, Chris? About
there is.
You might not be able to get off the ship for some reason, or you might not call at a particular port because of bad weather.
Correct.
What happens if I book my excursion and I'm not able to do it?
Well, as you said, I think sometimes it's a thing that's thought of by the cruise line or anybody else because of weather, or sometimes because ports might be very, very, very busy and they can't actually get tendering services, or they can't actually get space to actually harbour at the side of the port. We as a company guarantee that if that happens, and obviously if you can't enter the port, then you can't actually enjoy your excursion into wherever it may be. We guarantee that you get a full refund. And if there's another port of call that you do go in exchange, we will seek to organise another tour for you.
Sure, sure. And likewise, if I've got maybe a busy diary of excursions on my maybe 10-day cruise, and I say, listen, Chris, can we do a deal? And I'll say, I want to do 3 or 4 excursions. Is that going to be a better price for me as opposed to buying just 2 or 1?
Yes, we're very proud also that we have a multitude of trios. We call them trios and combo tours. And basically, we're expanding them all the time, due to their popularity. I think, for example, you can do, we do, for example, a 3-tour trio of Italian ports, which includes Livorno, Naples and Civitavecchia and Rome, as you know I've mentioned before.
Yes.
That goes out for £139. And that includes 3 full-day tours with an English professional speaking guide, and a full guide itinerary, and also entrance and things into places such as the Vatican and Colosseum. We also do the same in the Caribbean, and also do some very popular ones at the moment, which are encompassing Greek TO. We call them the Greek delights, and the Greek and Croatian delights, because some are actually including places such as ports in Dubrovnik. I have to say that Croatia is one of the most beautiful countries you've ever seen.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure if you arrived at Greece and said, listen, I've got a bit of money to spend, they'd be saying, come on in.
Well, yeah,
we haven't got any.
and the great thing about the issue in Greece is the fact that travel to Greece is not going to stop.
No.
They're a friendly people. They have been for a long time.
Brilliant place for a holiday as well.
They offer great value. And also their delights are pretty amazing. So we do a special 3-port package, which would suit most cruise lines that enter that part of the world, which would encompass Athens, into the Port of Piraeus, and of course it gives you the chance to visit one of the greatest
wonderful things.
The wonderful things of the Acropolis.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then of course Mykonos and Santorini.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could carry on talking to you about some of these wonderful destinations for the remainder of the day, and a little bit, but I think the one thing that is key, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is to be organised before you go. Get everything backed up, all your paperwork, and be as organised as possible, and book your excursions before you go. But just brilliant. We haven't got any more time, I'm afraid, Chris, to talk about any more. But thank you very much indeed for coming to tell us about some of the brilliant excursions you can do when you're on your cruise holiday. And just a quick reminder about our first-time guide to cruise holidays. I mean, what a fantastic way to enjoy a vacation. If you want a copy, all you have to do is give us a call here at the Holiday and Cruise channel, 0871 423 4444 for 10p a minute from a BT landline, and calls from other networks and mobiles may, of course, vary. You can also request a copy through our website at www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Well, that's all we have time for on today's edition of the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. My thanks again to Chris Miller from Cruising Excursions. Most of all, thanks to you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.